Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:06 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here. Coming up at 8:05, Tricia McLaughlin, spokesperson for DHS, will get their perspective on the incident with Senator Alex Padilla yesterday. No, it's not an escalation.
There would have to be a fight for there to be an escalation.
I mean, unless you want to say the Democrats are escalating, because that's the unprecedented. This is not normal. No, it's not normal for a sitting senator to go storm into a cabinet secretary's press conference, charging at the podium, shouting questions at her and accusations.
Who's a woman, by the way? I mean, not that it matters, but still, even a little bit of decorum. Come on now.
That's Patrice Onwuka. I'm Larry O'Connor on this Friday, 13th day of June, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th, Larry.
For people who are afraid of Friday the 13th, calling it Friday does not help, I don't think.
It's supposed to ease it out, ease out the tensions.
On April 12th, President Donald Trump gave Iran 60 days to make a deal on mitigating their nuclear proliferation and their plans for a nuclear weapon. Yesterday was day 61 of that 60-day window. And on that day, Israel launched a strike using drones against Iran's nuclear capabilities. Here's the breakdown on how it worked overnight. You probably saw this story as you were going to bed. And then things start. Well, first, let's start with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's statement to his nation and certainly the world last night after the strike began.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
That's right. And Israel did what it had to do to protect itself, which is all any nation should be expected to do.
Absolutely.
Iran is a terrorist state. We have known that from the first day this Islamic Republic of Iran began, with the deposing of the Shah, the taking over of the U.S. Embassy, the hostages that were held for over 400 days at the end of the Carter administration. They're terrorists. That's what they've always been. And if they're not engaging in terrorism, they are financing terrorism with their puppets, like the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah. Mm-hmm. This is who Iran is. They call us the Great Satan, and they have made no secret of the fact that they want to erase Israel from the map. They would love to see mushroom clouds over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So there is no denying that Israel did exactly what they had to do, given the fact that just 2 days ago, the international body that oversees the development of atomic technology and weapons said that Iran had violated the non-proliferation agreements that all nations abide by. So that's the bottom line. And they did what they needed to do. Here's what happened overnight. The Israeli strike, at 12:40 it was announced, at 12:40 in the morning, that the strike had killed General Mohammad Bagheri. He's the chief of staff of Iran's armed forces. In 12:44, it was announced that the chief of staff of the Iranian government was killed in the strike as well. 1 a.m., Saudi Arabia condemns the Israeli strike. Everyone's going to condemn this. Everyone's going to wring their hands. They're going to say, oh, this is terrible.
The international community, as though we care.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Saudi Arabia condemns Israel's strike, and then as soon as they turned off the cameras and microphones, they all high-fived each other and said, thank God. Because Saudi Arabia, everyone says, oh, Iran may go after Israel, and then they'll go after Americans. And guess what? They'll also go after Saudi Arabia. They want a Persian dominance in the Middle East. They're no friends of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia hates Iran just as much. 1:04 a.m., Israeli military says Iran has launched over 100 drones at Israel in the past few hours. 1:10, Jordan closes airspace to all flights after Israeli strikes on Iran. 1:22, IAEA says Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant was not targeted. So that's supposedly an energy plant, I think. Mm-hmm. Then Oman at 1:35 condemned the attack. The 1:43 U.S. Embassy in Bahrain warns personnel to exercise extreme caution. 2:02, Turkey condemned the attack. I love all the countries condemning the attacks. 2:18, China urges its citizens in Iran and Israel to take precautions. 2:42, Israel's strike appears to be the most significant attack Iran has faced since its 1980 war with Iraq. It goes on and on. Oh, no. At 3:09, Hamas condemned Israel's attack. Oh, no.
How unexpected, Larry. Hamas.
What will we do? What will we do? At 3:34 this morning, Israel said that the military strike had been completed. And Israel sort of basically stood down, although Prime Minister Netanyahu said this morning during a cabinet meeting open to press that other strikes could be imminent. Just
Absolutely.
Stay frosty on that. Secretary of State Marco Rubio put out a statement basically saying Israel acted unilaterally. We had nothing to do with this. And any retaliation Iran might want to engage in, they shouldn't target us, which is, I mean, listen, I understand why he put that statement out, but Iran's going to do what every terrorist country does. Of course, they're going to lash out at whoever they want to lash out at. And
of course they will.
And we should be concerned and we should be prepared.
You know, what's interesting, going over some of the military leaders killed, I've heard it, the Wall Street Journal positions it as though there's been a gut punch to the military leadership in Tehran. General Hussein Salami, the commander-in-chief of the Revolutionary Guard, has been killed in the attack. Also killed General Mohammad Bagheri, the highest-ranking military officer. I think there have been some nuclear scientists that were reportedly also killed. So this is a gut punch to the military leadership, but also undercuts their nuclear program and the development of it, which from what we understand is being reported, they were pretty close to a significant nuclear weapon, which I don't think they were just going to hold for mutually assured destruction. I think they wanted to deliver destruction and mutually assured destruction at that.
Did you say his name was Salami?
Yes, yes, Salami. Hussein Salami. Yeah. Sounds like a sandwich, but I don't think he was good going down.
That's no baloney. For everybody who's wringing their hands and furrowing their brows and warning on cable news that this could be the dawn of World War III, and they understand that cable news wants you to get exercise. They want you to get emotional. They want you to keep watching because, it's war, it's war.
To keep watching, yes.
They want you to keep watching. Ratings are great when there's a natural disaster, and there's, a hurricane, an earthquake, a volcano. Ratings are also great when there's an impeachment, and ratings are great when there's a war. And they don't have the latter two, so they've got this one for you. And let me give you a different perspective on this. This is not, in my opinion, the dawning of World War III. This is actually the first step in preventing World War III. That's what Israel did yesterday. They did it for their own survival, yes, but the rest of the world owes them a debt of gratitude, even if no one out there has the cojones to say it.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions.
That was Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement last night. You heard that last part. Last year, Iran fired 300 missiles at Iran, right?
Yes.
Now look at this headline from CNN. Israel launches major attack on Iran, putting the region on the brink of war. Now, think about this for a second. You just heard Iran shot 300 missiles at Israel over the course of the year. Did CNN ever write a headline saying Iran shoots missiles at Israel, putting region on the brink of war? Would they ever write that?
I don't
headline?
remember that being headline news, Larry.
That would not be
if
the
they made
headline.
news any at all.
That would, hey, Israel, they deserve it. Look at what they're doing in Gaza, right? I mean, that's the mindset in these newsrooms. How about this one? Iran continues to defy the world, and they move full speed ahead to develop a nuclear weapon, putting the region on the brink of war. That's never a headline you'll see, because, their warlike efforts, Iran's provocative moves, other than financing the October 7th attacks and financing the Houthis who were attacking U.S. Navy ships and financing terror all over the region. The rest of their warlike acts were all happening in a laboratory and in a nuclear facility. But Israel defending itself and stopping Iran's ability to create a nuclear weapon does not put the region on the brink of war. Iran developing a nuclear weapon puts the region on the brink of war.
Absolutely. Let's be clear here. The International Atomic Energy Agency, which is kind of like the police of atomic weaponry, and the United Nations inspectors, they've spent the better of, 20 years now trying to oversee, understand what Iran has, what they're developing, how fast and how quickly, and frankly, whether Iran has been faithful to any of the nuclear deals and treaties they've negotiated. And we still have no answers. At best, there's just rumors and whispers, but I think it's pretty good, fair to say, that Iran has broken every promise it's ever made about not developing a nuclear weapon. So, you know what? You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And their stupid prize was to be bombed by Israel, and rightly so.
President Trump at 6 this morning put out a statement on Truth Social. I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. And they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left, and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. That's President Trump at 6 a.m. It's now 7:22.
All right, coming up next, Dr. Jennifer London is going to join us to talk about the importance of celebrating the Army's 250th anniversary. It's going to be a big party here in D.C., if you don't know. So stay with us. We're going to learn more about this celebration and more. It's O'Connor and Company at 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37 this Friday morning in the nation's capital. O'Connor and Company will give you more updates on the developments in the Middle East coming up in a bit. Quick correction here, Patrice. I just said that Iran can lash out to whoever they want to. Of course, that's an error. It's to whomever they want.
Sure. It's okay, Larry. In your excitement, You said who versus whom. That's okay.
Yeah, well, it's important. I get notes about my grammar all the time, and it's understandable. 4 hours a day, no script. You talk.
Sometimes
funny.
you make a mistake, and it's Friday the 13th,
There
so
you
it's
go.
possible.
I would normally not even make this correction, but I got a very friendly email from somebody about this, and it's
wow,
a
an
person
email.
named Mr. Farrand, and Farrand also happens to be the name of my elementary school. When I was a kid, it's a very unique name.
Really?
I went to Farrand Elementary, and so getting a note about my poor grammar from someone named after my elementary school, it was a sign from God that I should correct the record.
Understood.
Joining us right now, one of our faves here, Dr. Jennifer London. You hear her regularly here on the weekends on WMAL, and whenever there's anything having to do with our great United States military, we always like to tap into the wisdom of Dr. Jennifer London. Thanks for joining us, Doc.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Well, I really, with all of the criticism of this parade tomorrow and the celebration of the Army's 250th birthday, 1 year before the Declaration of Independence, let's not forget, we were fighting before we even the politicians could get around to declaring independence. We were fighting the Brits. I really appreciated your Washington Times op-ed where you make the point, before we celebrate America's 250th, let's honor the military that made it possible. It's completely fitting that we celebrate the military this year before we actually celebrate our birthday.
Well, the military was the first step in our independence. And, of course, Washington formed the military, the Continental Army, in 1775 to fight against the British monarchy and reject being ruled by a king. And this is what we're celebrating. It was the first step to our independence. And after the Continental Congress, when Elizabeth Powell asked Ben Franklin, essentially, well, sir, do we have a monarchy or a republic? He said, a republic if we can keep it. And our military is the first step to keeping that, that republic, which, by the way, we are the longest serving democratic republic right now in the world. So we want to keep that.
Well, Dr. London, in this piece you talk about the importance of celebrating, and we're going to have a big parade here in Washington, D.C., but, it's important also to be teaching our children about our history and the value and the importance of the military in frankly, our founding and our establishment. What can families do? What can parents be doing this weekend and, frankly, over the next year as we celebrate our nation's big birthday to really teach children the history, not the history that unfortunately they're learning in a lot of public schools today, but the real history of the America's story?
Well, there are a lot of events that are happening around the country now, which I hope will go on for the coming year. I created an organization, National American History and Founders Month, to hopefully keep American spirit going after, the 250 so that we can recognize our country every November. Our American identity is rooted in the idea of e pluribus unum, out of many one. And as far as the parade, FDR had a parade similar to this in 1942 in New York, 500,000 marchers, 2.5 million spectators, and it also coincided with Flag Day. We also had a very large parade in D.C. in 1991 after the Gulf War. And so, and by the way, Europe just celebrated VE Day. So it's important to honor, I believe, and to appreciate our military because they have kept the peace around the world. With the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II, and, the eyes of the world are on us. I think it's smart of Trump to have a parade and show countries like Russia and China our military might.
Well, thank you. I keep hearing this, that we don't do this here in America. This is like North Korea. I even heard somebody saying that this is like, our soldiers are going to be goose-stepping down through the National Mall in Washington, D.C., literally likening our troops to fascist troops. That's not what this is. And we have done this before. I remember we had a victory parade after the Gulf War, if I remember right, where we had military in Washington, D.C. Why do they insist on rewriting history and just gaslighting us, or goose-lighting for that matter?
Well, I think there's a confusion about motivation. In some countries, the military parades represent, we're powerful, we're aggressive. Our parades are more about recognition and appreciation. We owe a debt of gratitude. The ground we walk on is because of our military. We owe a debt of gratitude to our military. And this is our opportunity, going back to what we can do with our children, is show them that, this is what keeps peace around the world. And it not only marking our founding, as I mentioned earlier, but, what the military does. I mean, it's a force of good as well.
Yeah.
And we are there in natural disasters. We do the mercy ships around the world, which, by the way, is Navy. But we're there for the world.
Dr. London, I quickly in our final minute, I want to draw attention to your wonderful book, Profiles in Character. I highly recommend this it's a great coffee table book. It's a great book for just our own edification, but it's also a great book for homeschool parents or parents wanting to augment the public school curriculum. Specifically about General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, we just acknowledged the anniversary of D-Day. If you could briefly just summarize what you focus on in your book that you wrote with your late husband, Jack London, the Profiles in Character, about Eisenhower and what he did right before D-Day.
Well, Eisenhower had a habit of writing a note, taking responsibility of a potential failure in a military conflict. And before D-Day, he wrote a note that later was found by his aide that essentially said that if the conflict failed, if the invasion failed, it was his responsibility and his alone. And the greatness of Eisenhower was his sense of responsibility, of taking accountability, even if something, went wrong. And he could have, blamed any number of people, including the weather, the weatherman at the time, because the weather was horrible. But here is a man who stood up on his own and took responsibility, and he's such a great role model for that. And Eisenhower transcends a lot. He was a general in the Army. He became a president, and his influence was, felt generations thereafter.
At a time, and frankly, in a city where everyone bends over backwards to figure out who else is at fault and try to spin their own failures onto somebody else to take the fall, to recognize that on the evening before the D-Day invasion, Dwight Eisenhower personally hand-wrote a letter taking full and complete responsibility if the mission was a failure. It honestly leaves me speechless to think about that kind of character and that kind of courage and that kind of dignity. We need men like that. That's why this book is so good, too. Profiles in Character, 16 Americans and the Traits That Define Them. Dr. London, I know you didn't plan on talking about the book, but it's just, I think all the events that are going on in our world, and especially celebrating the 250th anniversary of our military, the book is a good compendium, if I may say. It's always great to talk with you.
Yes, it is. And as we look forward to the 250th anniversary of our country, I hope we all remember the greatness of our military and our founders.
Yes, amen. Go check out AmericanHistoryAndFoundersMonth.com, AmericanHistoryAndFoundersMonth.com. It's 7:44.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
All right, as we've been discussing, we do have this parade in town tomorrow. It's going to be drizzly with on and off showers. I doubt that's going to affect our military. It's funny. No. They don't check the weather. They do check the weather, but they continue to fight wars even in the rain. So I don't think it's going to stop them from parading down the national mall.
But I'd be surprised if the counter protesters are going to show up. They're scared of water.
Yeah, but they're paid well to be out there. So the No Kings protests are actually mapped out across the country. Boy, that kind of organization and planning, that takes money. We should probably find out who's behind all this.
Oh, you're saying it's not organic, Larry?
No, it's AstroTurf. Trump was asked yesterday, how do you feel about these protests being called the No Kings protest? And he had a funny answer.
There are several No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What do they call No Kings?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much.
It's actually the perfect answer. King, are you killing me? Are you telling I'm killing myself trying to get things passed over here. I wish
Well,
I were a king.
How many orders have we heard have been stayed, and the ping pong in court? This morning alone, we've talked about it. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic response to the no kings. And by the way, it's an easy way to make $200. I saw someone on Instagram saying, "Yeah, $200 to go protest tomorrow." That's not bad.
I don't know if my soul is worth $200, but we'll see what the protesters do. Listen, go ahead and protest. Get wet, stand in the rain. Don't start violence. Don't stop traffic. Don't break things. Don't spray graffiti. Don't break windows. Don't
assault
vandalize.
Law enforcement.
Let me put it this way. Don't break the law. Protest all you want, but don't break the law. And if you're going to be out for the parade, keep your head on a swivel. Seriously. Yeah. I do worry, especially here in D.C., about some of these protests. And just as a unrelated, but I think directly related note, this story just in out of Montgomery County, a Maryland man, Patrice.
Okay.
A Maryland man armed with a pocket knife was arrested outside the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School in Rockville earlier this morning. This is following a scuffle with the school's security. The man, identified as Joseph Amir Khairi Abdallah, a Maryland man, had been observed circling the school parking lot and refused to exit the car or identify himself to officials. This is a Jewish day school in Rockville. A man named Joseph Amir Khairi Abdallah refused to stop circling the parking lot, and he was armed with a knife. That's what's going on right here in our backyard. So watch yourself with the No Kings protest this weekend. By the way, I'm told our own Matthew Foldy, friend of the program, Matt Foldy, he went to that school in Rockville, and he happens to be in Israel right now as a journalist covering what's going on. We're going to hopefully connect with Matt Foldy from a bomb shelter
terrific.
Coming up in the next hour. Right now it's 7:52.